All right, so today I want to talk about my own journey in the automotive industry. So I really took a swing at things. I want to say not this past summer, but the summer before, between my freshman year and sophomore year of college, I had been planning to make a jump into the automotive industry. And I had been doing quite a bit of work previously in previous years to build up to this point. So I've always had a personal interest in body work. So refinishing a car after a crash or repainting a car for a custom paint job for a customer, things of that sort. I've always had a personal interest in that. And so I really struggled with the idea, the concept, and the ability to break into the world of automotive repair work and particularly paint work, body work. It's a very prestigious field. You may not think it is, but if you do not have a shop that has an extreme reputation behind it, it can be very tough to get customers that are going to trust the quality of your work, particularly if you don't have any proof of work, say videos or pictures of before and after. And so that's one thing that can be very hard, especially considering you may have all the necessary knowledge, but there is a chance that you may mess things up. That is very normal in automotive, especially the refinish industry. And so that's one thing that they don't talk about, and the one thing that is not widely publicized is how to fix mistakes. See, it's very easy and accessible to fix mistakes in painting. The industry has put forth this idea, this concept that repair work and paint work is a one-time thing, and if you so much as mess up the slightest bit of thing, say dust gets in the paint while it's setting, you're going to have to completely redo the paint job. And it is just not factual whatsoever, and it was very hard to break through that prejudice and actually truly figure out how the industry worked, and how the actual art of refinishing a car worked. And so one thing in my personal journey though is, outside of gaining the knowledge on doing whatever you want to specifically do, is how to really break out and actually start your business. And that's one thing I feel like really is not widely publicized at all, is how do you get the funds? How do you get investors? How do you do things of that sort? And so for me, my journey consisted of, after my freshman year of college, decided I wanted to go work at O'Reilly Auto Parts, particularly because I knew a specific store in my hometown where I knew that there was one particular gentleman who knew a bunch about vehicles. He worked in the industry for 30, 40 years. And I also knew that I would be surrounding myself with cheaper, more parts that were more affordable, since you get a discount working there. And I also realized that you can talk to the customers there and ask them questions, even if you don't know that. And that's something that I really found hard to comprehend when it came to getting into the industry, was where do I find these sources of knowledge? Where do I ask these questions? And so what I did was I worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts, put myself in the environment that I wanted to be in. See, I wanted to be inside auto repair and things of that sort, and I wanted to be inside bodywork, but I had no idea how to get into that field to begin with. And so I just merely put myself in that environment to the best of my known ability at the time, and that was working at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And from that point on, not only did I find a specific gentleman who knew a multitude about cars, it also required initiative on my part. See, I went into that workspace every single day with a new question. I went there, I sat there, and I worked 8-10 hour shifts, as much as I could, getting overtime. But I wasn't less focused on the work, the work itself and getting those hours in. I was focused on using every second of my time at that store to help teach me something. And so I went out, and we had a number of shop owners in small and larger companies such as Tire Man and a couple local shops in my area. Their owners would come in regularly because they had contracts with O'Reilly Auto Parts that allowed them to get cheaper parts. And so I would ask them every chance I get, anything I could get out of them in terms of automotive knowledge, or even how to start a business, the inner workings of the automotive business itself, and really how to take a swing out at things. And what I decided to do was that, personally, I thought my best bet would be to go out on a whim and as I've referenced multiple times so far, purchased my first vehicle. So I bought a 2000 Jaguar S-Type, non-runner and driver, and with the knowledge that I had been acquiring by doing nonstop research for about 4.5 years at this point, was I thought it was sufficient enough to carry me through that project. So I bought that car for $2,000 cash, and I went ahead and busted my ass and went through the entire vehicle and fixed what needed to be fixed and made it presentable for sale, and ended up selling that car for $5,800. And that was my big first swing at things. See, I took the leap at switching over my job, but that was a steady job. I was working that job, working about 45 hours a week. And on top of that, I bought this vehicle, and every single day I came home and worked on this vehicle for another 6-7 hours. Every single day I'd work 8-10 hour shifts and then come home and work on this vehicle for 8 hours because I truly believed in it. But also the thing is, and this is one thing that is generally spoken about, but it really can get rough, is that I had no money. Every single ounce of my paycheck was going directly to this vehicle. Every single penny from each paycheck was being put directly into this vehicle. And so I had no money. I was just out on a whim with no backing. And that's something that's terrifying because there is no fallback plan. That is all your money that you are going to put into trying to generate your startup. And that's something that is very tough in terms of trying to really take that branch out, is that finances are tough. You're paying gas with pennies, quarters, dimes, whatever you can find in the cushions of your seats, and it can be very scary at times because after I finished all the work in the Jaguar, it still sat for sale for 2 months, and that's something that, depending on your field, you may not get instant gratification for your work. And that is something that can be very hard to stick to and, really hold your guns, is when you don't see that money. And it's kind of more of a long-term process in order to really see true reward. And that's something that I found was very stressful, and it can be extreme. You can almost break you in many different ways to be that low on funds for that low of time. And the future's uncertain. You're completely doing your own thing. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're truly able to do it unless you really stick your head down and do it. And I believe that if you really believe in it and you truly work on it yourself very hard, you can do it. And so that's one thing, is that from that point on, though, see, I went out, took this limb out, and decided to teach myself something by purchasing this car and flipping it, right? That was my first real introduction into the industry, the way it worked, the market for vehicles and things of that sort, and how much money you could charge for the work you do on a certain vehicle depending on its age and things of that sort. And so that was my first real swing at things. And so then the question becomes, okay, so now that I have the experience, I've documented, I took a bunch of videos, wrote down, every ounce of data I had in terms of cost and revenue and things and profits and all that sort. But in time frames, it's really important to keep down time frames. But from that point, where do you go, And so that was the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. Sophomore year of college, I spent the entire year talking about my dream and my specific plan into the automotive industry and how I thought I had ideas that could change the industry. But the thing is, though, I went ahead and I started taking business courses. I'm getting a business minor, but I'm a nursing major. And I thought that I might be able to find something, anything that may help me to further my, my ideas, my goals. And that's where I had a couple different conversations with Ronald Myers. I assume that many of you have heard of him. And so the thing is, I asked him, I gave him my pitch, my idea, what I believed in, and he looked at me and he giggled and he straight up crushed my entire concept of what I thought I could do to work. And he pointed out the fact that it was a Me Too business. It was a business where everyone does it. Everyone in the corner, oh, me too, I do that too. And he really questioned me on how do I want to break the mold. And so that's something that I really struggled with. And so that is something that I grappled with, that idea for so long, and how I was going to break the mold of the automotive industry, because that's something I never thought of. And honestly, I was scared of ridicule. It sucks hearing from, someone who understands business, that your entire idea is flawed in its conception. And so that's something that I think sucked to hear, and something that was hard pill to swallow, even particularly when I had already made extreme profits inside this industry. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it was something that I needed to accept and really get behind in order to truly understand that there is a way to change up the model. And that's something that I have my own ideas about that, and I'm actually have a super ambitious plan in the next few years. So I ended up impressing an investor with that first Jaguar sale. And so from that point forward, this entire past summer, between my sophomore and junior of college, this most recent summer, I got a bunch of funding, and I went out and I purchased a number of vehicles, and I refurbished them, and particularly a few of them needed paint work, and I did paint work on them. And I also had customers driving to me to get auto body work, and I documented all of this, and this was a great experience where I had investment. And honestly, so in terms of getting an investor, you talk to anyone and everyone, and I pitched my idea to anyone and everyone for that entire year. Like I said, that sophomore year of college, last school year, in relative to the one where I am talking as of right now in fall of 2023. And so I talked to everyone and anyone, and I managed to impress someone who believed in me and knew me long term. That's something that many people don't get, is someone who they know and who personally knows them and is willing to support their vision. And honestly, I think it really comes down to how many people you're willing to talk to. And that's something that they don't talk about, is how to get investing. And so honestly, in my personal opinion, you go out and talk to anyone, everyone. You will make contacts like you never believed if you were just willing to talk, pitch your idea, and honestly, believe in yourself. If someone truly sees that you believe in yourself, they will support you. And so I went out, and with this support, and this past summer, I was able to really take a limb out in the automotive industry and really move some serious inventory. I really managed to get a large quantity of vehicles, and I managed to refurbish and get them up for sale or sell them. And that is one thing that's very tough as starting out in businesses. You spend so much money in equipment and tools and rent and housing for all of your facilities, and it's hard to swallow that pill when the profit doesn't show up. Even though you're making large amounts of revenue, it can be hard to see lower end profits. But that's one thing that is just something you have to swallow. But I know I've been jumping all over the point, but the point of this is, don't be afraid to go on a limb. Don't be afraid to talk to everyone and anyone about your idea, because eventually you'll find someone who believes in you. Just take the leap of faith in yourself and take a limb like I did with my Jaguar, and invest in yourself and truly take that leap into that industry in order to get that conceptual proof down. And then from that point forward, I really think it just comes down to talking to anyone and everyone, and really trying to impress and make contacts with people in the industry, or someone who is willing to support you and believe in your endeavor. And that's something that I feel like is missed a lot, is the actual how-tos of breaking away from an initial idea and going from an initial idea to putting in action and impressing people who have started their own businesses and are actually inside the industry of business in general. And then also being able to take that criticism, like I said, and swallow that pill of your initial ideas are going to be flawed, and you need to learn how to give up on your initial ideas. Do not be stubborn. Be willing to form to what is needed in the industry. And that is something that I feel like, I'm still struggling to do. And that's something I want you guys to talk about in the comments below, is, how do you, and how have you guys personally gone about in terms of impressing investors and actually getting that conceptual proof of your business? What have you done yourself in order to get you along this journey, because starting out's tough, and personally I'm still learning, that's the thing, is that I've done, thousands of hours worth of sales, and even then it still can be hard to see the future, especially when you're going completely on a whim on your own, without any mentor or template. There's no template, and that's the hardest thing to get past, is there's no template. You just have to be willing to constantly work at it 24/7, 7 days a week, all day, all night. You sit there, you lay there, and you think about it, in order to think about how can you do it? How can you be different? Who can you talk to? And what can you say to help you along your journey into your dreams? But either way, I'd love to hear, some thoughts on all this in the comments below. And what have you guys personally gone through in order to get to the point where I'm at, where you're starting to get investors and things of that sort? I'd love to hear about it. Let's start a discussion.